My husband, Justin Miller, was dying, but before he went, he insisted on divorcing me. He gave me all the assets and the company under his name, keeping nothing for himself. The night he signed the divorce agreement, he held me and cried heartbrokenly. He said it was the last thing he could do for me. He didn't want me to become a widow in the eyes of others after he died. It was his only wish before he passed, and as his deeply loving wife, how could I refuse? The night before we were scheduled to go to the courthouse to finalize the divorce, he suddenly collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor issued a critical condition notice, and I immediately signed the consent to withdraw treatment. My husband could not be saved. He died on that night of pouring rain. I turned away, wiped the tears from my eyes, and smiled as I tore up the divorce agreement. That night, I called the funeral home vehicle and had him sent to the crematorium and turned into ashes before dawn. When the doctor announced that my husband, Justin Miller, had shown absolutely no signs of life, my tears streamed down. I held back my grief and called the funeral home. When they were moving the body, I gave each staff member a $500 cash tip, asking them to be gentle with my husband. I had planned to stay with him for one last night, to talk to him properly. But after arriving at the funeral home, I changed my mind. I asked one of the staff members if they could cremate my husband's body immediately. The staff member clutched the pocket holding the $500 cash tip and looked a little hesitant. "I'll give you 10,000, I pleaded. With that, I took out all my and Justin Miller's documents, including our marriage certificate, ID cards, and his death certificate. The staff member looked at the documents, then at me, his face sincere. He immediately nodded and said, "I'll call someone to help right away." At 5 a.m., the funeral home parking lot was already filled with more than 10 funeral home vehicles. The quiet air was faintly filled with sounds of sorrowful crying. I patted the urn I held in my arms, suddenly feeling a little sad, wanting very much to cry. I looked up at the sky, a faint light was piercing the darkness, slowly breaking free from the night's embrace. I lowered my head, and tears fell onto the urn. "Justin Miller, my brand new day has begun, and you will lie forever in this small box." Robert and Susan Miller beat their chests and wailed when they heard the news of their son's death. Upon learning that their precious son had been cremated by me overnight, one of them rolled their eyes and fainted, and the other rushed up and slapped me twice. I called emergency services. Robert Miller committed assault. After he slapped me, I couldn't even hear properly when others spoke. They also called emergency services, accusing me of cremating their son without their consent and preventing them from seeing their son one last time. Half an hour later, 2 police units arrived separately. The police on my side told me to get examined for injuries, and if it constituted assault, the person who hit me would be held responsible. The police on their side informed them that a wife has full authority to handle her husband's cremation and funeral matters, without needing parental consent. The police said that what I did was immoral but legal. I brought the ashes out from Justin Miller's study. "Dad, Mom, will you take Justin Miller's ashes back yourselves, or shall I send them to you?" Susan Miller's eyes turned red. She pointed at me, her lips trembling as she tried to curse me. I took out Justin Miller's will. "Mom, he specifically asked me to give this to you. He said he wanted you to bury him on the family plot back home." Susan Miller finally reacted. She lunged at me like a madwoman, trying to tear at me. I retreated behind the police officers, showing only my head. Since he left a will specifying his final ARR. "Anchments, how dare you cremate him without our consent? Give me back my son," Susan Miller wailed. The police officer looked at me sternly. An officer lectured me, saying that while a wife usually has the right to handle her husband's final arrangements, that's in cases where there's no will specifying things. Therefore, I might be suspected of breaking the law. Susan Miller immediately stopped crying. A spark of hope ignited in her eyes. I handed Justin Miller's recorded will and written will to the police officers. My husband's will instructed me to give his ashes to his parents, but it didn't specify who should cremate him or how long he should be kept before cremation. The police officers read it carefully 3 times, then returned the phone to me and sighed helplessly at Susan Miller. "He's right. If you suspect there's an issue with the will, you can pursue legal action." Susan Miller nearly rolled her eyes again. Robert Miller quickly helped her walk towards their usual room on the second floor. The police officers watched their backs inside. "You're a family." Why hurt each other? Try to see it from their perspective. That was their son. Was what you did fair to them? I remained silent. Fair? Did they consider fairness to me when they ganged up and played me for a fool, keeping me in the dark? I discovered Justin Miller's deception 3 months ago. His lung cancer cells, which had been under control, had suddenly spread. That night, he coughed all night and coughed up a lot of blood. He barely fell asleep until close to dawn. With swollen eyes and disheveled hair, I sat by the bed on the verge of a breakdown, watching him deeply, my fingers tracing his handsome features bit by bit. I desperately suppressed my sobs, afraid of disturbing him. During the examination at the hospital, they found multiple brain tumors had grown in his brain. The doctor said the surgery would be extremely difficult. I couldn't even imagine how I would live after my husband left this world. We had known each other since college and been together for 14 years. Our 8 years of marriage had occupied a significant part of my life. Justin Miller was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer 3 years ago. I accompanied him to major hospitals both domestically and abroad. Finally, we were fortunate enough to meet a famous practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine. Only after starting an experimental treatment regimen was Justin Miller's life, which was entering its final countdown, barely prolonged. After just 2 doses, Justin Miller's breathing difficulties were significantly relieved. However, the preparation process for this experimental treatment regimen was extremely complex, with specific requirements for the temperature of the liquid and the timing of its administration. I was afraid someone else wouldn't do it properly, so I prepared various nutritious meals for him myself every day, changing up the recipes to maintain his physical strength and immunity. I handed over the management of the company to others. For 3 years, I wholeheartedly took care of him at home. My only wish was for him to stay by my side for a few more years. Under my care, his health gradually recovered, and he could even live and work like a normal person. At the checkup just 3 months ago, the doctor said it was well controlled, yet in just a few short months, we received the death sentence. The doctor said his cancer cells had spread throughout his entire body, with widespread metastasis. I was completely stunned, my legs went weak, and I collapsed onto the floor. Justin Miller, in contrast, was very calm, or perhaps just pretending to be calm. He held me in his arms. Suppressing his emotions, he said, "Jessica, this day was bound to come. I've lived 3 years longer than the doctors initially predicted. My only regret is not being able to grow old with you. Leaving you to go on alone in this life, I'm sorry." At the moment, I felt like dying with him. How did I discover Justin Miller's deception at that time? Justin Miller refused the doctor's advice to be admitted to the hospital as soon as possible, saying he still had many things to take care of, and insisted on going home. The doctor prescribed a pile of medications and told him he could increase the dosage if the pain was severe. After arriving home, Justin Miller told me with a pale face that he wanted to be alone, then went into the study. I understood his despair and helplessness, so I didn't disturb him. I just silently shed tears, preparing nutritious meals for him as usual. It was very late when Justin Miller finally came out of the study. It was clear he had been crying. His nose was red, and there were tear streaks on his face, and his voice was severely hoarse. I watched him with a pained heart, not knowing how to comfort him at that moment. After eating dinner in silence, Justin Miller said he wanted to go for a walk. "Okay," I said gently, "I'll go with you." He shook his head, his attitude firm. "Jessica, my mind is a mess. Can I just be alone for a while? I'll be fine, please?" His voice was mournful and desolate. I couldn't refuse, but how could I feel at ease letting him, with his terminal illness, go out alone? I took off my apron and secretly followed him. After leaving the house, he didn't drive. He walked slowly out of the neighborhood, through the park, and into a villa community styled with private gardens. This neighborhood was an upscale gated community, significantly more expensive than the villa we lived in. The security guard at the entrance seemed to recognize Justin Miller, greeted him warmly, and opened the gate. I couldn't follow him into this kind of high-end residential area. I pointed at Justin Miller's retreating figure and angrily questioned the guard. "Why do you open the gate for him but not for me?" The young security guard's mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, "Hell. Oh miss, he's a resident here. If you buy a villa here, we'll welcome you home just as warmly." Justin Miller is a resident here. I was stunned. I don't remember how I got home. When I came to my senses, I was holding a dashcam memory card and 2 long-lasting miniature recorders. I never let myself fall into endless suspicion, that only drains you. If you suspect something, then prove it. I went to Justin Miller's car and replaced the original memory card in his dashcam. I placed the 2 miniature recorders in the interlayer of his briefcase and the lining of his suit jacket, which he often carried. After doing all this, I was covered in sweat, but a wave of coldness rose from the bottom of my heart, so cold that my whole body was trembling. Justin Miller left around 7 in the evening and was back by almost midnight. I hadn't turned on the lights and was sitting blankly on the sofa. Justin Miller was startled when he came back and turned on the light and saw me. "Jessica, why aren't you asleep yet?" "I'm sorry, I made you worry. I shouldn't have come back so late. I just felt really heavy-hearted." So he apologized to me, then opened his arms and held me close, just as gently as he had for the past 8 years. He had a faint scent of perfume on him, exactly the same fragrance as the brand I use. But I hadn't put on perfume. With his condition suddenly worsening, how could he be in the mood for cologne? In reality, the truth is always more devastating than speculation. This shock undoubtedly overturned everything I thought I knew about Justin Miller over the past 14 years, and also everything I thought I knew about his parents. Let's start with Justin Miller's dashcam recordings. This dashcam retains footage for up to 14 days, though some emergency events are saved permanently. When I inserted the memory card into an adapter and connected it to my computer, my palms were sweating. I hoped it was all just my own suspicions, but when I saw those images, the blood in my veins ran cold. After leaving home each day, Justin Miller would first go to the villa to pick up a mother and daughter. I knew this woman. She was Luna, an administrative manager at a company affiliated with Justin Miller's. He had even introduced her to the job. He said Luna was a former high school classmate of his, now divorced and having a hard time raising a child alone. Justin Miller had been taking Emily to school every day these past few days. The dashcam was single lens, so you couldn't see the people inside the car while driving, but there was audio. Emily actually called Justin Miller Dad, and her term of address for Justin Miller was darling. She even reminded Justin Miller to delete the dashcam footage promptly, saying it wouldn't be good if I found out. The man replied, "Don't worry, she won't check these. These past few years, while I've been sick, she's been busy taking care of all sorts of things for me. She doesn't even look at anything else. Her entire focus is on my health. The experimental treatment regimen she found for me actually worked. If it weren't for her, I might not be alive today." Emily laughed. "Dad, is she an idiot? Mom often says she's a stupid woman, a nanny who works for her whole family." After a few seconds of silence, Justin Miller chuckled and said yes. Emily seemed encouraged. "The last time Mom and I visited Grandma also said that woman was stupid. When will Grandma let Mom and me come home? Grandma also said that once Mom has a baby brother, you'll bring us home." How can I describe my feelings at that moment? I thought I would be angry, collapse, go mad, or maybe even want to kill them with a knife. But in the end, I just let out a bitter laugh through my tears, and then raised my hand and slapped myself hard twice. My husband slept by my side for 8 years, yet I had absolutely no idea he was constantly lying to me. This was my fault. I was naive enough to believe true love really exists in this world. This was even more my fault. And my in-laws, Robert and Susan Miller, whom I had treated like my own parents. It was I who gave them the opportunity to deceive me. When I saw the miniature camera in the study captured Justin Miller opening the hidden compartment in the safe, revealing the gleaming gold bars, jewelry, and stacks of cash inside, I found it hard to accept. I had never seen these assets before, nor did I know they existed. So I didn't believe Justin Miller would leave these things to me. He seemed to be agonizing over how to distribute these assets, constantly writing and sketching on paper, then frustratedly tearing it up and throwing it in the trash. Anyone would probably be frustrated in this situation. holding so much wealth in their hands, but knowing they were about to die. How could they be at peace? I watched the scene before me coldly, my heart filled with hatred. That night, Justin Miller slept in the study. I acted understanding and didn't disturb him. The next morning, he left for the company as usual, carrying the trash bag from his study. So cautious and careful. Seeing the empty dining table, not set with a hearty breakfast as usual, he couldn't help but frown slightly. But he didn't question or blame me at all. Instead, he looked at me with concern. "Jessica, are you not feeling well today? I've told you before, you can sleep in a little later in the morning. You don't have to get up so early for me every day. I can just grab breakfast downstairs at the company." I didn't answer him. Instead, I turned and walked into the kitchen, bringing him the prepared experimental treatment regimen and the medicine cup. "If you're not feeling well, don't go to the company. We can find a reliable professional manager to run it." Justin Miller took the medicine cup and drank it in one gulp out of habit. As he handed me the empty cup, he shook his head. "How could that be the same while my health is still okay? I want to sort out the company affairs. I'll hand it over to you after I'm gone, so you won't have to worry." I gently lowered my eyelids, hiding the mockery in my eyes. Just as he was about to step out the door, I called out to stop him. Justin Miller turned back to look at me, asking with some confusion, "What is it?" Swallowing the bitterness in my throat, I asked with difficulty, "Is there anything you want to tell me, or is there something you're hiding from me right now?" I looked at him. The hand holding the trash bag just unconsciously tightened its grip. I was giving him a chance to explain himself to me. If he dared to admit his mistakes and sincerely apologize to me, then, given that he was dying, I might have forgiven him. Justin Miller's Adam's apple bobbed. He evaded my gaze, asking in return, "Did someone tell you something? Why are you asking this all of a sudden?" Seeing me stay silent, he continued, "Except for work, I'm with you almost all the time. You even know how many times I go to the bathroom a day. What could I possibly be hiding from you? If you don't believe me, I can swear to you." I pressed my slightly trembling lips together and forced a smile. "I haven't heard anything. I just want you to know that whatever it is, we can face it together. No matter how much time the doctors say you have left, I won't give up, just like 3 years ago." His eyes gradually became moist. "Jessica, thank you. I'm content to have married you in this life. Don't worry, I won't give up on myself until the very last moment. I'll keep fighting this and stay with you for as long as I can." Watching the self-pitying man before me, I was completely disillusioned. "Well then, hurry off to the company. Remember to take care of yourself." Justin Miller nodded, turned, and stepped out the door. As the door closed, my heart sank to the bottom, but at the same time, it solidified my resolve for my next actions, eliminating any hesitation or struggle. "Are you listening to us?" A stern voice pulled my thoughts back from the past. I looked at the police officer speaking to me. "We understand the pain of losing your husband and that your actions were excessive in the moment, but you also need to consider his parents. Now that they've lost their son, don't provoke them further." The older police officer began to reason with me. "Officer, I didn't provoke them. I just called to inform them of their son's death. They were the ones who rushed to my house and hit me." No sooner had I finished speaking than Susan Miller's harsh voice rang out again. "Your house? What are you talking about? This house was clearly bought by my son. Get out now." Susan Miller, who had just gone into the room, rushed downstairs in a fury. Her vicious gaze looked as though she wanted to tear me apart. I was used to seeing Susan Miller act meek and docile. This sudden shift caught me off guard. How could she have two faces? I took out the voluntary gift agreement signed by Justin Miller himself and the notarized document. "Mom, didn't Justin Miller tell you a month ago he gave this house to me? The agreement is right here." Susan Miller reached out, trying to snatch the documents from my hand. "This agreement is fake. My son clearly told us before that he was only leaving you the bankrupt company and its debts. He said this house and all his other assets were for us. How could he have given it to you?" The police officers suddenly understood and showed surprised expressions. Indeed, Justin Miller had originally intended to leave this house to his parents. But unlucky for him, I discovered his secret beforehand. I again retreated behind the police officers, showing only my head. Well, I wouldn't know. Maybe in his heart, you and Robert Miller combined weren't as important as me. He told me I was the person he loved most in this life. Susan Miller was furious. She wailed like an air raid siren, clawing and flailing at the police, trying to get past him to tear at me. The police officer sternly stopped Susan Miller. I don't mind taking you all to the police station to sort this out properly. Susan Miller withdrew her hand, which had been reaching to claw at me. Robert Miller glared at me fiercely, then said to the police officer, "Officer, I suspect she killed my son. She was afraid we'd find evidence, so she cremated him to destroy it." The police officer glanced at him and asked coldly, "Accusations of murder require more substantial evidence than that." I turned and went into Justin Miller's study, taking out his thick medical records, death certificate, cremation certificate, and other documents. My husband was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer 3 years ago. Here is the diagnostic report. I handed the diagnostic reports from the past 3 years to the police. Fortunately, medication had kept it under control before, but 3 months ago, his condition worsened again and spread throughout his body. He suddenly had convulsions and vomited blood at home last night. I immediately called an ambulance. He died at the hospital after rescue efforts were unsuccessful, and I only proceeded with the cremation after receiving the hospital's death certificate. The police officers flipped through the examination reports and medical records, asking me suspiciously, "Given your husband's condition, shouldn't he have been in the hospital? Why was he at home?" A flicker of mockery crossed my eyes. He was the one who insisted on not staying in the hospital. His attending physician and I had urged him countless times. The police officer's gaze remained scrutinizing and skeptical. "If you don't believe me, you can investigate at the oncology department of this hospital. His attending physician can confirm it." The police officer returned the documents to me, saying coldly, "You just need to tell us your story. How we conduct our investigation is not something you need to suggest." After more than 2 hours of arguing, with the police officer's mediation, we signed a settlement agreement. I handed the ashes over to Robert and Susan Miller so they could take their son for burial. It is said that was where Justin Miller and Luna had their first date. I placed the urn in Robert Miller's hands. "Dad, I'm giving you Justin Miller's ashes according to his last wishes. You should head back soon. I won't be attending his funeral. I'm a bit tired lately and want to get some good rest." The police officer, who was putting away his body camera, twitched his mouth and looked at me as if I were a monster. After Robert Miller held the urn in his hands, the reality of his son's death finally hit him. He clutched the urn tightly to his chest, overwhelmed with grief. Susan Miller also cried herself hoarse and couldn't stand upright. I stood there with my arms crossed, one foot relaxed, watching everything unfold. After Robert and Susan Miller left, I slammed the door shut. After returning to the living room, I realized my body felt completely drained. I didn't even have the strength to stand. I struggled to climb the stairs, holding onto the railing, towards the bedroom on the second floor, and then threw myself heavily onto the bed. Feeling like I could smell Justin Miller's scent from when he was alive, I had to get up and go to the guest room next door. Soon, I fell into a deep sleep. In that hazy consciousness, the events of the past 3 months replayed repeatedly, tearing at my already shattered heart. I was in terrible pain. I remember when I got the company's real financial statements for the past few years, my hands and feet went numb. Disappointment was like a knife piercing my heart. For 3 whole years. To take care of Justin Miller's health, I had poured everything into it and gradually stepped away from managing the company. But during that time, he had secretly tampered with the company's finances behind my back, creating fake debts and false losses. The company was almost on the verge of bankruptcy. Over these past few years, using the company's need for cash flow as an excuse, and also saying it was for medical treatment and recuperation, he took several million in cash from me, pretty much emptying all my savings. I had never doubted his companionship over the past 14 years. I was convinced we were the partners who trusted each other the most. Justin Miller was a man with a terminal illness. He couldn't take money with him to the grave, so what did he need it for? The things he did to disappoint me didn't stop there. Ever since his condition worsened again, he became unusually busy. Besides being busy moving assets from both my name and his, he was even busier arranging Luna and Emily's future. The miniature recorders I placed on him captured all of it for me. First, he contacted insurance agents and set up over 20 accident insurance policies for the mother and daughter. He carefully selected educational resources for Emily and paid the fees in advance. He called several friends, hoping they would help take care of Robert and Susan Miller, Jessica, and Emily after his death. And as for me, he actually told his friends that Jessica was very malicious, and they absolutely should not mention anything about him in front of her. After he died, they should preferably cut off all contact with her, because if she ever found out about Luna, Jessica would definitely bully her. After 14 years together, of course he knew me. When we were building our business together, I was always calmer than him at work. Though I smiled and spoke gently, I could always quickly grasp the key points and secure the greatest benefits for myself. He arranged everything before he died. After Justin Miller had taken care of all this, he suddenly proposed divorce to me. I can't bear for people to talk about you behind your back as a widow. He held me in his arms, his hot tears falling on my shoulder, making me feel uncomfortable as if I were being pricked by needles. He choked out, "After I die, I can let go of everything except you. You've been by my side all these years without a single complaint. You've been with me through every difficult moment. It's a good thing we don't have children. Find someone who loves you to be by your side in my place in the future." I corrected him, "We did have a child once. You accidentally knocked over the oil bottle in the kitchen and didn't tell me. I fell in the kitchen and miscarried after that. The baby was 7 months old, and I can't have children anymore." Justin Miller tightened his grip on my arm. "I'm sorry. At the time, I was so flustered and forgot. Even now, I clearly remember the scene." Justin Miller, holding me with blood all over my lower body, rushed to the hospital like a madman. Upon hearing that I had miscarried and that it would be very difficult for me to get pregnant again due to placental bleeding, he knelt on the ground in agony, repeatedly slapping his own face, his tears and snot streaming down. "After we divorce, I'll give you all the property, but can I leave this house to Robert and Susan Miller? I don't want you to live alone in this empty house." Before he died, I also hired a professional auditing team to the company to help me verify the financial irregularities of the past few years. Justin Miller panicked. He questioned me with a pale face. "Jessica, what is this? Why is there suddenly an audit at our company? Are you suspecting me of financial fraud?" I gently reassured him. "What are you thinking? How could I suspect you after you're gone? I plan to hand the company over to a professional manager. Of course, I need to prepare now, otherwise, if you die, there will be no one to manage the company." Justin Miller looked at me with a complex expression. He had been quite wary of me lately because I was constantly by my side, even following him when he got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. Of course, I wasn't worried about him. I was worried he would move the pile of gold bars and jewelry from the study when I wasn't around. He had been too confident before, treating me like a fool. Now that I had found out, I wouldn't let him take a single cent from there. Justin Miller's mood became increasingly agitated, and he often lost his temper with me. Half a month later, Justin Miller's emotions finally erupted. He furiously smashed many things in the house, shouting that he wanted a divorce. He said this was his last wish before he died. Why couldn't I fulfill it? I had promised. Yes, I loved him so much. How could I not fulfill his dying wish? Wiping my tears, I said, "I can divorce you, but I don't need anything else. I must have this house." Justin Miller clenched his jaw and remained silent. I continued to cry. Compared to the large amount of assets he had transferred, this house was insignificant. Early the next morning, I drove him to the county recorder's office to handle the transfer of ownership. And just 2 days before he died, I happened to receive the new property deed. The same day we finalized the divorce agreement, we went directly to the courthouse to schedule the divorce appointment. Just then, his phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID. It was Luna. Justin Miller took the phone and then excused himself to the restroom. I pretended to be oblivious and found a chair to sit on in the lobby. I sent a message to my brother, David. David, when are you coming back to the country? My brother graduated from the computer science department of a globally renowned university. I wanted him to help me crack Justin Miller's safe, but I couldn't find anyone else I could trust at the time. In reality, the assets Justin Miller had secretly squirreled away were originally marital property. When he saw the safe completely emptied by me later, his surprised expression would definitely be worth seeing. Perhaps it was the experimental treatment regimen I prepared. Justin Miller's health seemed to improve day by day, and his spirits lifted considerably. The experimental treatment regimen contained painkillers prescribed by the doctor I found for him, which also eased his physical pain. This also gave him the illusion that he might be as lucky as he was 3 years ago and possibly live for another 3 years. During this period, he started going out more often. 2 weeks later, my brother David finally returned to the country. After Justin Miller opened the safe again to put in cash, I guess he probably wouldn't open it a second time in the short term. That night, while he was out, I immediately contacted David. In less than half an hour, David had cracked the so-called high-security safe. David and I emptied everything from the safe in 2 trips. Some jewelry, including emeralds, diamonds, rubies, sapphires, bought at auctions, was worth tens of millions. These were likely bought with project funds he stole from the company over the years. A week later, armed with the documents the auditors gave me, I anonymously reported the company's financial fraud and tax evasion to the police. In addition, I hired a lawyer to help me gather evidence and file a lawsuit. My lawsuit sought to confirm the irregular debts were fraudulent, recover all my losses, and hold the responsible parties legally accountable. That day, I knew he suspected me. After all, I had hired a third-party audit, and then the company was reported. But why would I admit it? He no longer had the mood to go on dates with Luna. He was at the company almost all day. When the day for the divorce came, he seemed to have forgotten. I called to remind him, "Are you free tomorrow to finalize the divorce?" Justin Miller was silent for a long time on the other end, then gritted his teeth and replied with a single word, "Okay." I pulled up the corner of my mouth in a smile. That day, he came home very early. As soon as he returned, he locked himself in the study. A few minutes later, roaring sounds came from inside. I continued scrolling through videos on my phone. Before long, the study door was thrown open, and Justin Miller walked out, trembling all over. Inarticulate sounds came continuously from his throat. "Call emergency services. Call emergency services right now. Who stole everything from my safe?" I watched coldly as Justin Miller walked step by step into his study. He turned around and scanned the room. The items on the desk had all been swept onto the floor, and his phone had fallen next to the chair. The safe was open and empty. I picked up the phone from the floor and quietly put it in my pocket. I asked, "Why is there a safe here? What did you keep in the safe?" Justin Miller didn't dare tell me. It's important company documents I kept inside." "What kind of documents would make you this nervous?" I thought it was gold bars. Justin Miller stared at me blankly. I walked to the bookshelf and stopped, then took down the miniature camera from the top of the cabinet right in front of him. His face instantly froze, his eyes widened in terror, and his breathing grew heavy. "This camera has been here for 3 months. Didn't you notice, idiot?" I said, smiling like a devil. "Bitch! How dare you spy on me? I'm calling emergency services right now." He reached for his pocket. I took my phone out of my pocket and shook it at him. "Looking for your phone?" He lunged at me, trying to snatch it, but instead, he tripped and fell forward onto the floor. After a violent coughing fit, blood gushed from his mouth. Probably because he couldn't breathe, he clutched at his chest, looking very distressed. "Call an ambulance for me. I'm in so much pain. I feel terrible." I looked down at him, expressionless. No matter how much Justin Miller begged for help, I ignored him. I started tidying up the scattered items, putting them back in their places. Sever. All times, Justin Miller tried to get up, but each time I pressed his shoulder with my foot, still wearing socks, pushing him back down. Then I slowly found my and his ID cards, our marriage certificate, his will, and the divorce agreement. After doing all this, I sat leisurely in his chair. Only when his struggles grew weaker did I calmly call emergency services. After 40 minutes of attempted resuscitation, the doctor issued a critical condition notice, telling me to prepare myself. I was ready, so I directly chose to withdraw treatment and signed the consent to withdraw treatment (DNR) form. After treatment was stopped, I went in to see Justin Miller. He was wearing an oxygen mask. When he saw me approach, his eyes immediately widened in fury, looking as if he wanted to kill me, but he couldn't speak. I leaned down. "What a shame. I won't be able to send you to prison now." Justin Miller's pupils constricted, and his face was again filled with terror. I continued with a smile, "I took all the money from the safe. Don't worry, I'll set aside money for Robert and Susan Miller. But as for your little mistress's villa and car, and everything else you gave her, I'm going to get it all back." I gently stroked his hair. "Oh, and Luna is pregnant again. But since you'll be dead, there won't be a paternity test. So how will she prove they're your children if they're not your children? How can she claim a share of your inheritance from me?" I gently patted his hand. "I'll live well. You can die in peace." Justin Miller took his last breath right before my eyes. His eyes were wide open after he died. Before Justin Miller's funeral was even over, I sued Luna, demanding she return all the assets Justin Miller had gifted her during our marriage. Luna broke down. On the day of the hearing, Robert and Susan Miller were both there. Robert Miller sat in the witness box. Luna was practically in tears. "My daughter is Justin Miller's daughter. She should inherit her father's property." The judge demanded evidence. "Everything in this court requires evidence. I have a paternity test report." To my complete surprise, Luna actually produced a paternity test report. "But how can you be sure the father's sample came from Justin Miller?" In her desperation, Luna pointed to Robert and Susan Miller in the witness box. "Justin Miller's parents can testify for me. They were both there the day I gave birth to my daughter. His mother even took care of me in the hospital." Susan Miller stood up. "I think that malicious woman Jessica bribed you. You took her money, that's why you're giving us trouble." But the judge immediately called the bailiffs and had them removed from the courtroom. But Luna absolutely refused to return the assets Justin Miller had gifted her. By then, the child she was carrying was close to being born. Finally, the court had to issue a court-ordered enforcement. The day the villa and car were repossessed, Luna cried loudly, holding her belly. "How could you be so cruel? My 2 children are Justin Miller's too. Why can't you treat them kindly? No wonder you can't have children." She kept cursing me with the most vicious language from behind me. I didn't pay attention. After getting into the car, the driver started the engine. I looked out the window as we drove away, and I knew that 14 years of love and hate had ended here.